Have you ever walked into a place that felt out of time? A familiar street suddenly different, a crowd dressed from another century, or a moment that vanishes the next second? Some call them hallucinations. Others call them time slips. Tonight we open the mystery vault and step into the strange world where time folds, and people accidentally fall through it. In August of 1901, two English academics, Charlotte Moberly and Eleanor Jourdain, were visiting the gardens of the Palace of Versailles in France. As they walked, a strange feeling of oppression and dreariness descended upon them. Suddenly, they found themselves surrounded by people in 18th century clothing. The familiar bustling palace gardens grew quiet and still, as if a curtain had fallen between them and the world they knew. The very air felt different, heavy with a silent melancholy that was both profound and deeply unsettling. The palace itself looked different. The pathways were overgrown, and the architectural details seemed to have reverted to an older, less polished state. It was in this strange, muted landscape that they claimed to have seen a woman sketching on the lawn, her features and dress strikingly similar to historical portraits of Marie Antoinette. The encounter was brief, lasting only a few moments. Then, as quickly as it had begun, the scene dissolved. The 18th century figures vanished, the normal sounds of a busy tourist site returned, and the gardens were once again as they had been. Their extraordinary story, later published in a book titled An Adventure, became famously known as the Versailles time slip. Were they collectively dreaming, sharing a vivid hallucination born from the historical weight of their surroundings? Or did they somehow, for a fleeting moment, step through a wrinkle in time, glimpsing a memory imprinted on the very fabric of Versailles? The debate continues to this day, making their experience one of the most foundational and perplexing cases in the annals of temporal anomalies. In the summer of 1969, a distinguished pilot for the British Royal Air Force, Air Marshal Sir Victor Goddard, was flying over an abandoned airfield in Drem, Scotland. He knew the base well. It was derelict and in a state of disrepair with cracked runways and crumbling empty hangars. After encountering turbulent weather, he decided to fly back over the airfield for a second look. But suddenly, what he saw below made no sense. The airfield was no longer abandoned. It was alive again, bustling with activity. The scene was bathed in an unusually bright, surreal sunlight. On the ground, he saw 4 bright yellow planes parked on the tarmac, a type of training aircraft he didn't immediately recognize. Mechanics in smart blue overalls were walking around, appearing crisp and efficient. The hangars, which he knew to be dilapidated, now looked brand new, their roofs intact and their doors freshly painted. The entire base seemed fully operational, a stark contrast to the ruin he had passed over just minutes before. Confused but certain of what he had witnessed, Goddard continued his flight. It was only later that he learned the Royal Air Force had indeed reopened the Drem base, but not until 1973, a full 4 years after his flight. The training planes used at the newly activated base were painted a distinct, bright yellow. How could he have seen the future before it happened, with such startling accuracy and detail? Scientists might label such an event as a form of temporal dislocation, a momentary and unexplained shift in a person's perception of the flow of time. For others, Goddard's vision is nothing short of proof, a clear and documented glimpse into a future that was already written, waiting for the world to catch up. In July of 1996, a Liverpool couple, Frank and Carol, were walking through the city center. While crossing Bold Street, a familiar and busy thoroughfare, they suddenly found themselves in a different world. The modern shop fronts they knew, the chain stores and contemporary cafes, were gone. In their place stood older, more traditional businesses with names like Cripps and Kaplan's. The cars parked along the street were vintage models, their designs placing them firmly in the 1950s. Even the sounds were different. The hustle and bustle of the late 20th century was replaced by a calmer, more muted ambiance. Carol noticed a woman dressed in a headscarf and a coat that looked straight out of a post-war photograph, carrying a wicker basket. Frank, disoriented, saw a small van with the name Kaplan's on its side drive past them. The entire experience felt real, solid, and utterly immersive. Confused and a little frightened, they instinctively crossed back over the street. In an instant, everything was modern again. The vintage cars were gone, the old shops had vanished, and the familiar noise of 1990s Liverpool returned. Shaken, they later investigated their experience. Police and historical records confirmed their story. The street they described, with the very shops they named, had indeed existed on Bold Street, but had disappeared decades earlier, in the 1950s and 60s. How does time leak like that, allowing an entire streetscape from the past to bleed into the present? And why does it seem to happen only for some, while others walk by completely unaware? These questions point to a phenomenon that defies easy explanation, suggesting that the past may be closer than we think. Physicists and researchers faced with these inexplicable accounts have proposed a number of fascinating, if speculative, theories. Some hypothesize the existence of wormholes, theoretical tunnels through space-time that could, under the right conditions, briefly connect two different points in time. Others explore the idea of quantum memory, suggesting that strong emotional or significant historical events can leave a kind of energetic residue or imprint on a location, which can then be replayed or experienced by sensitive individuals. Another compelling theory involves magnetic anomalies in the human brain, proposing that localized fluctuations in the Earth's geomagnetic field could interact with our neural processes, temporarily altering our perception of time and reality. Perhaps the most mind-bending idea is that time is not linear at all. Instead of a single flowing river, some theorists suggest that time is layered, like the pages in a book. The past, present, and future all exist simultaneously, stacked one on top of the other, under extremely rare and specific conditions, perhaps triggered by a unique combination of atmospheric pressure, electromagnetic fields, and individual consciousness. Those layers might touch. And for a brief, disorienting second, you accidentally turn the wrong page, finding yourself in a chapter written long ago or one that is yet to be lived. The great physicist Albert Einstein once famously remarked, "The distinction between past, present, and future is only a stubbornly persistent illusion." Maybe he was right in a more literal sense than he intended. Perhaps these time-slip witnesses are not hallucinating, but are simply people who for a moment see beyond the illusion. Time-slip reports are not isolated to a few famous cases. They come from all over the world, forming a global pattern of temporal strangeness. The phenomenon has been documented in the bustling streets of Liverpool, the historic gardens of Versailles, the dense urban landscapes of Tokyo, the vibrant neighborhoods of Buenos Aires, and even the quiet, open spaces of rural America. What's truly fascinating is that across these diverse cultures and locations, the patterns reported by witnesses are eerily similar. Many accounts describe the event being preceded by a sudden, unnatural silence, as if the world's volume knob had been turned all the way down. Others mention a calm, almost windless atmosphere, even on a day that was previously blustery. A low-frequency hum or vibration is another commonly reported sensory detail, a sound that seems to emanate from nowhere and everywhere at once. Some witnesses have even described a bright flash of light or a shimmering heat haze effect in the air just before the temporal shift occurs. Could these recurring environmental triggers hold the key? Perhaps specific electromagnetic fields, generated by geological faults or atmospheric conditions, can trigger a form of consciousness displacement, momentarily unmooring a person's mind from the present. Or do these moments suggest something deeper? A universe that is far stranger, more complex, and more wonderfully mysterious than we can currently imagine? Maybe time isn't something we move through. Maybe instead, time moves through us. The past, the present, the future, all happening right now, coexisting in a single vast and incomprehensible tapestry. And sometimes, for reasons we do not yet understand, they overlap. If you ever find yourself walking down a street and feel just for a second like you've stepped into another era, don't dismiss it too quickly. You might have just slipped through time. Subscribe to Mystery Vault, because the truth isn't always in the present.